Well, a big fan of you for a long time. I am curious, as somebody who has been in this business a long time, from indie films, Down by Law back in the day, to Spider-Man,
yes.
like what are we on, like the 20th iteration of that?
Not quite.
But you run the gamut in terms of the things that you've worked with, from the big IP movies to tentpole movies to the indie films. When you look at the success of a Backrooms, of a director who basically just put his work out there on YouTube and basically made one of the biggest movies of the year. A similar story with Obsession. What does that tell you about the Hollywood system?
It tells me actually that holistically, in a grand sense, it works.
Okay.
Whereas many people might look at it and think it says it doesn't work. But as I did say, pointed out in the op-ed in the Times, those two movies came from independent sources, but they succeeded with the help of long-standing institutions.
I am curious, though, and this is specific to the idea of getting people into the theater, the theatrical releases. There have been a lot of talk, well, not just talk, the data's there. I mean, we're just not going. So for a long time, the big studios seem to be relying on the big tentpole movies, the IP, the superhero movies, to get folks in the door. Now we've had a couple of movies kind of outside that ecosystem. Not only that, but you had like K-pop Demon Hunters and a few others that really kind of took a lot of people by surprise. Is that what it takes to get the younger generation back into the theaters?
Yes.
Yeah.
I could speak from experience. Sony made K-pop.
Yes, you did.
Demon Hunters.
And you should have kept it in the theater longer, by the way.
Well, it was done during COVID. So,
we get it. Yeah.
COVID was a unique experience in and of itself. But I'm actually gonna take issue when you talk about the data. Yes, off from 2019 and before COVID, but right now, for example, this year the box office is roaring.
Yeah.
It is roaring.
Yeah, I think Bloomberg says we're going to get to 10 billion this year.
Knock on wood, but I would agree with that.
All right.
And part of it is what you said, in contrast to the nattering nabobs of negativity who said that, and a point for anyone who knows where that reference is from, but that young audiences would not come back to the theaters.
Yeah.
The movies you talked about, and I think it will be the case with some of the big movies coming later. You've seen it now this past weekend with the enormous success of Toy Story, and we have Spider-Man coming up later, that young audiences will indeed come back to the movie theater. In fact, there's a lot of sense now that young audiences that really do want to get off their phones. They want to have a true social experience live. And that's the one thing that movies in movie theaters do that all the, TikTok and streaming in the world doesn't. But you're right, we have to speak to them in the aesthetic that's relevant to them, and that's what these new movies have done.
Well, I hear what you're saying, that, younger people especially do want to get off their phones. But, I mean, that being said, you think about how some of the trio that you outline in this guest essay, Backrooms, Iron Lung, Obsession, were sourced going back to YouTube. Does that change how Hollywood is going to be looking for its next films? I mean, are you going to be looking on YouTube
I hope
see,
so. I hope as I'm sitting here that we're looking that back in LA, that's what our people are doing. Yes. But as I said, I don't think, and as I said in the essay, it's a different source now. YouTube is, for all of its enormous success, is a relatively new phenomenon. But the phenomenon of new talent coming into Hollywood or into any artistic discipline is not new. What we need to do as the institutional representatives of Hollywood is to be sure we're looking everywhere, we're looking in new places, and to be sure the door is open, that the door is open to new talent, and that we're willing to take the risk on them. I mean, you refer to K-pop. That's the classic example of something that, in retrospect, is a great success. When we started on it, there weren't a lot of believers.
Well, to your point that you expect Toy Story 5, Spider-Man is going to bring more people back into the theater. There is the idea out there, the frustration that, there's just not enough new ideas, that it's all sequels. And I wonder what you make of that.
I agree with that. And I've often said that I think the greatest ultimate threat to Hollywood is not streaming. We coexist very well with streaming. Sony has an excellent deal with Netflix. They're terrific partners for us. The greatest threat ultimately would be the end of originality. You can't make a sequel to something if you haven't made the original. But what I would say to you is that it is possible when you talk about Spider-Man, when you see our new Spider-Man movie, yes, there have been many, but this one's different.
Yeah.
And as long as you bring, it's much more emotionally driven, it's much more grounded. I actually myself refer to it, it's more a super person movie than even a superhero movie. So it takes a new approach. So even if you have established IP, it's very important to bring a new sensibility to that.
I am curious about sort of the balance right now between streaming and theatrical releases. I mean, you're trying to toe the line there. You've had an agreement with Netflix in the past. You bought Alamo Drafthouse.
Yes.
I think you were the first studio to even own a major theater chain since basically the 1948 Paramount Act.
Yes.
But give me a sense here as to what that balance is. Are we going to go back to the old days where the Hollywood studios are going to deliberately withhold things from streaming and cable and stuff like that?
I wouldn't use the phrase deliberately withhold things, but I would use the our more term of art, which is will we window things? Will we give movies a chance to play in movie theaters for a period of time?
Can you
I think
the answer. The reason why I ask is because I come from that generation where if you didn't see it in the theater, you had to wait months if you're going to get it on videotape or a DVD or whatever. And now that window has compressed significantly. In some cases, it comes straight to streaming. There are some people, old people like me, who just don't want to go to the theater. I like to sit on my couch.
Well, we've got to make it so exciting and so urgent for you that you're going to get up from your couch.
Okay.
That's what's incumbent upon us.
Okay.
But I think the answer is, a happy medium. In the old days, 6-month window was too long.
Yeah.
During COVID, when it was what we called day and date, and it came out at the same time, too short. What the business seems to be coalescing around now, and what we have advocated for extensively, I've been out there saying it, is roughly speaking, a 45-day window. Chris Nolan, the head of the Directors Guild, he would argue for a 60-day window, but some period of time of exclusivity. And I think that's extremely important because then if it's too collapsed, then it's, the last line from Casablanca. If the audience knows, maybe not today or tomorrow, but soon, I can get it at home, it's not good for the ecosystem. And I think that really the streamers and the traditional studios are beginning to recognize that now.
Right. So a work in progress, an ongoing conversation there. I do want to zoom back out because overall, it looks like this summer box office is going to be pretty fantastic in terms of the numbers here. And I wonder, what is the takeaway? What is the lesson that, you can bring into 2027 from that?
It's not, in honesty, it would be too easy to say, if you build it, they will come. No. It's that if you got to make it great. I haven't yet had a chance to see Toy Story, but I know that the reviews and the audience response
got a Taylor Swift song in it.
Well, there you go. You can't. Well, that's one answer. If you get Taylor for everything, you'll be fine. But I think the answer is that we have to create cultural urgency. We have to make you feel you have to get up from your couch, and then it's got to be great. For all the excitement about Spider-Man, it needs to be great. Happily, I'm more than slightly biased, I think it is, but I'm sure Odyssey will be great.
But how do you do it
That's
as an
key.
executive? Is that more art than science? You just have to know from the gut, or what?
No. There's a very famous. If you've ever read, it's the best book on Hollywood ever written, William Goldman's book, Adventures in the Screen Trade. And in that book, there was an aphorism that became gospel, which was, nobody knows anything. All luck, all gut. I actually don't believe that. I think that some people know some things that you can learn. It's still show business, right? There's no telling, ultimately, but what you need to do, and that's why what you started the segment with, I think it's very important for Hollywood to be sensitive to what's just happened with young audiences. If you stay sensitive to the audience, you'll have a better shot.
I want to pose another question to you. I mean, what's a movie that surprised you in terms of its success? It could be a Sony movie or it could be any other studio. You know, just over the course of your career, that really to you was just like, oh my God, I can't believe this became a success. Or the opposite.
I've had the opposite. I've had plenty. Right? I prefer not to say them all on air, but there's a long list of the opposite.
Yeah.
But no, I put in mind of a movie I did years ago that you may know called There's Something About Mary.
Yes,
and, you know, that movie was what's happened with, in particular with Obsession that's so remarkable is it's actually gone up in successive weekends. And Something About Mary did that some years ago, and that really, that surprised me. But the biggest surprise, I was an officer on the good ship Titanic, and everyone had proclaimed, yes, the Fourth Estate was absolutely positive that movie was going to hit the iceberg and go down like no movie ever had. And as Jim Cameron said at the time, the folks at Fox, where I was, we were dressed in our best and prepared to go down as gentlemen. And that movie, yes, after 3 years of heartache and pain, that movie went into theaters and it just stayed like a rock.
There you go.
Every week for 4 months and became the highest grossing movie in history and was a very pleasant surprise.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Tom, it's fantastic to have you on set with
delighted.
us. Hope you come back soon. Really
Thanks.
enjoyed this conversation.
Thank you both very much.